entirely possible I am streaming completely to myself, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But if there is anyone there, I can see chat. Right, let's find out whether this thing's actually stable. I'm largely playing tokens because I need to finish one of my daily missions, which happens to be win games as Russia, and tokens is the sensible way to do that in the world right now. At least quickly, at least potentially. Watch as we now lose repeatedly, but we'll find out. And this might be useful to someone if you're trying to figure out how to play tokens decks. I don't really want to see... You're alright, I suppose. If I get desperate... No, that's much better, because we have this. I have line of engagement, which is ridiculously strong. Inclusion of 554th. There are multiple reasons. That is not usually one of them, but it'll do. Hello. Opponent. We'll see how this goes. So, line of engagement. To demonstrate the point, which is to get some board presence. And then we'll find out what this guy's doing. I presume this person is going to be playing some form of straightforward high roll variant, since that's what's going around at the minute. We will push forward. How do I want to do this? I mean, 503 gives us a little bit of tempo, because he can't kill them both. And then at some point we'll find a way to kill him. Probably, anyway. Also, it's entirely possible you can hear my wife baking in the background, which is kind of cool. Okay, do I just want to ruin his day? I mean... it brings it down into manageable range, but how much do I care? Enough, I suspect. And do this, or debot, which hopefully will give us a little bit of frontline presence. We're just waiting to get something out that we can buff. Tokens being the be-all and end-all of just sheer weight of numbers. Which we're sort of getting. Oh, okay, that's fine. This is where I'm thinking, because is it worth... Yeah, I think it probably is, because we can start asking him some relevant questions now about whether he's willing to try it out. Which we will find out. Are you actually... So, what have we got? Duress would have been so good right now, but that's fine, because he's just going to end up copying a bunch of our units, which we're actually not that bothered by. 3, 4, yeah, I mean, we're just going to create some very frightening light infantry. That was a misplay. Actually, no. Let's turn a misplay into an actual play. It was a misplay, but I'm going to turn it into a vaguely useful play by getting 2 potent units and forcing him to deal with the guard in the centre. This is not ideal play. If you're watching this, this was a misplay. I should have put the light infantry here down first before I dropped the buff unit. But that's okay, because I don't think there's an enormous amount that our opponent can do right now. Which is frankly a shame for him, but I'm going to drop 5-year plan because it's fun, and I want to see whether we can get something moderately threatening. We'll put you in the front line, and we'll just keep hitting face, because at this point our friend hasn't really got any outs. I mean, board clear would be good right now, and he could kind of make me have to think about it, but no, we're done. Which is basically what this deck is going to do. Right, let's talk about tokens, because I said I'd do occasional deck discussions. This is a vaguely meta deck. I say vaguely meta deck because I don't have a full collection. As people will learn more and more as they watch my channel and my bits and pieces, I don't have full collections, but let's have a look at this deck. This is as close as I've been able to get. I'm sure some fairly important parts. I would like another 67th WWII because it's amazing, and I would very, very much like a second close combat. But the point of this is pretty obvious, which is to throw a huge number of light infantry onto the board and buff them ridiculously in different ways. Or, if you're lucky enough to get it out, WWII, which is possibly the most insane thing to see. This card is great. Giving you light infantry Alpine. So if you don't know how Alpine works, which if you're newer to the game you might not, when you deploy an Alpine unit, it gets +1/+1 for every other unit that's Alpine that you control. Every time you deploy or add an Alpine unit. The key here is deploy or add. So if we put WWII down and drop line of engagement, which is a really classic play in this deck, we will get a frontline 2/2. We'll get one in our hand, we'll get a support line 2/2, a front line 3/3, and then when we deploy the one in our hand, it'll be 4/4. All of which will have 0 op cost and drive people crazy, which is sort of the point. It can steamroll very quickly, other ways that it can steamroll. Close combat's amazing. Straight +3 attack until the end of the turn, just a kill card. Obviously the 503rd motors, just deploy and buff. We want 3 in our deck. We have 3 in our deck. As I said before, 554th is there because this 0011, it doesn't benefit from any of our token buffs, but what it does do is give us the chance to nick front line from the opposition, and then the US splash here, I mean, Industrial Might is pretty cool. Draw for everyone that you've deployed or added this turn. I am tempted to add a second one at some point because it can get you a lot of card draw when you need it, which means you can go digging for your kill cards. 3 duress I'm not running for, but you need something to answer inevitable issues, and we're going to hopefully demonstrate that that works by continuing to attempt to climb ladder badly. And hey, Red Sun! Good lord. There are like 5 people viewing this channel now when there were none a moment ago. That's so cool. Hello everyone, and yeah, let's find out how this goes, and don't judge me, I know I'm playing tokens, but it's a sort of illustration of what is, I think, a useful meta deck, especially if you are, or at least meta-ish deck, especially if you're a newer player and you can pull a few cards together, because you can get somewhere at reasonable pace on tokens from the lower end of it. At this level, at Field Marshal, I'm not convinced it's as strong as it once was. But we're going to find out by cranking out some games and discovering, one, if I can still play this thing, because I've not played this since like day 2 of this season, when it was the deck that I Field Marshalled on, and then I just put it down and went into building other stuff because I like building other stuff. So we're going to find out whether I still know what I'm doing. We do have a fairly epic hand. I am not going to lie, the hand that we've currently got is fairly insane. That's a mild speed bump that we could live without, but I don't think it's actually going to be a major problem. But we've pulled, frankly, a decent hand that we should be able to do something with. So I'm looking at this and going, I've got 3 credits to spend and I need to get some tempo on this guy. So what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to burn a frontal assault, and it may seem like an odd time to burn a frontal assault. However, it gets rid of his unit and lets me get tempo back, which is the one thing you can't lose on this deck. If you start stalling out when playing this, life will be hard. 2 damage, I don't care. So I am not inclined to be particularly worried. I don't need to do that. I could do that later, but it seems pointless considering, so we're just going to create pressure. I'm just putting him under pressure to see whether he wants to hang around and play, or our opponent here, Demetrius, I'm assuming is a he, but actually could be anyone, but I'm fascinated to see, like, the more I get to know names around here, the more I get to recognise people I might be playing against. Oh, that's really cool, because he's left him sitting. Now, our opponent doesn't know that they've left themselves open to Bloody Sickle, but they have, which is great. We like that, because that gets us card draw. Yes, we take some HQ damage. No, we're not really that bothered by it. Could just buff the life out of these, but I don't think I want to. What I actually think I want to do is... yeah, I'm going to load up for next turn with Blitz Light Infantry. And basically swarm the front line, which is kind of the whole point. That's what the deck does, and it will keep doing it. Let's find out. See if our opponent has an answer, or our opponent decides they don't, which has happened to me a few times. Zokita is actually a good answer, depending on... that's actually really bad for our opponent. That's kind of low rolling. You don't want the Akita splash damage to go there. You want to go and take one of the tokens out, which is why we're now digging for answers, which I am immensely sympathetic to. So first things first, let's get a full line of shiny light infantry and then make our opponent very sad. So this 2-3 is fine, and then we're just going to swing into HQ. I'll just wait and see. This is running pretty much the way that I would expect tokens to run when you get a decent draw out of it. It's not doing anything fancy, and tokens just honestly doesn't. Lots and lots of things are exploding, which is very shiny to look at, and I get why. But we're done. We played well. I don't think there was a lot our opponent could really have done. And we will roll on. Chaos, you have arrived. More support constantly turning up, which is super cool. We are hopefully turning this into, at least the start of this might be useful YouTube tutorial for anyone trying to learn to play tokens. I am just jamming out some tokens game and finding out whether it's still viable at Field Marshal, because I'm not... I stepped away from it and haven't come back to it since, and I'm just curious as to whether I can still win games on this. So far the answer is yes. Yes, we can. There's like 4 on the trot today, I think. I don't really want to see any of you, but we'll keep the pressure for front line, like so. That was a mistake. And good day. Misclicking on tap pads. Yeah, I'm pretty much with you. That's pretty much my read of it. I think it is still functional. I don't know that I'll be able to climb any distance on it. But since I'm not over fussed at the minute, I'm doing a lot of experimenting. At some point, I might have to go and have a look and see if I can build BVG's little toy as well. Because it looks interesting. Get the Red Devils out, because it's always annoying. Red Devils is... Some people watching this might be looking at Tokens Doke wondering why you put something like Red Devils in it, when you could just throw more buffs or find some other way to do it. The main reason is Red Devils remains one of the most annoying cards in the world to deal with. And that always makes me happy, because anything that frustrates our opponent works for us. Hey, White Lotus, how you doing? Carpet bombing coming out. Kind of predictable, kind of okay with it. How I want to respond to it's a slightly different question. We're gonna use Deep Operation because I would like to get this into the front line before we play No Surrender and Blitz Forward. Again, this is just about keeping pressure up on this deck, so if you are trying to learn how to play this tokens deck and you've seen it floating around and you're thinking, how does it do what it does, what makes it good? One of the things that makes it good is just straight tempo. This thing is ridiculously quick when it gets rolling. I haven't seen my Baravanichi, which I have a mighty one. As I mentioned earlier, if you're at the beginning of the video or if you're watching it on demand, you'll have seen me mention earlier. So we've seen another carpet bombing from our opponent, which is very sad for them. I'll make my opponent think I'm insane. And then I'm going to flood the board. Trade out, because we don't actually mind trading out, because again, all I want is frontline presence. And we're just going to keep putting the pressure on and pouring it on and on and on. And we'll see our opponent throwing up all the answers in the world. I don't mind a little bit of healthy bounce. The Glamour Boys, I'm not going to lie, is annoying. I'd love to top deck Duress right now, but that would feel mean to my opponent. This is the one thing that we don't have a lot of, is card draw, so we could throw ourselves randomly on our swords, but we're not going to. We're going to hang out and believe, hey Penny, that we actually can do something with this. This is where you do get to see that this deck can get turned around really easily. This could very quickly turn into an L, because they've just absorbed the pressure, and this is for me the weakness of this deck, whether it's in early games and particularly at this level. If you can absorb the pressure long enough to push back, about the same as it's been for a while, honestly, Penny. I'm not expecting a massive amount of variation to appear. It's pretty much not varying, which is understandable. We can get rid of his Glamour Boys, and then we can sack out, which means at least we looked vaguely good. This is my first loss of the day on tokens, because I had a Russian main wins mission. I think 4 or 5 in a row before this. And then I'm just going to go out in a blaze of glory, because I like doing this with 5-year plan, because it's fun. Honestly, ladder continues to be just... I mean, I guess it's always just been about persistence. It just feels, to me, more draining than it used to be. I find repetitive matches more common at the moment than I did. On the plus side, technology is now working, because I figured out how to actually cable connect my stuff together, and it just means that I'm limited to the battery life of my laptop until I can get an extra cable into it. Are you finding it different? Lots of variation, or just less of a grind? I don't want to lose any of you because I don't know what they're going to do. It's funny actually, the more you follow like sort of the discords and stuff around, you see different people having different responses to it. There have been some fairly epic rants about it, and then some people just having fun. I suppose that might be a personal bias in that it might be, maybe it's not that it's less varied, maybe it's that I'm just seeing things. I'm going to pay more attention as we go, so we're going to be rolling around for a bit. Let's see what we come up against. I mean, I know nothing about this Japan deck right now. I mean, it's a Japan deck. Which is, something. That's not worth it. I can deploy one more. And create some pressure. And then we'll see. I'm trying to keep a vague track of who we play so far. Be interesting as we go through the evening, see whether we see some different stuff. At some point, I do feel like once I've kind of run my course with... I can only assume that whoever you are, you had really, really bad hand draw. And honestly, this might make you feel better if you're ever the person with bad hand draw. And I do feel for people when that happens. I've been there. It sucks when you just know you can't go anywhere and it's not happening. I might dust off some different decks when I've played through a bit with the tokens as well. I might see if I can play some frontline, because I've noticed a few people seem to be getting somewhere with frontline, and I miss frontline. Frontline is kind of my comfort zone, but I really haven't played it since I just hit a wall of hyper fast tokens when I first came in post expansion. Line of engagement's good, unity of strength is good, no surrender and we can do it, too expensive, they're not going to get us tempo early, and part of this is just for those of you watching to learn about the deck, part of this is just driving forward and making sure you've got cost-effective ways to get units on the board. Think about messing with jet stuff and trying to build a Finnish ally ramp. I mean, if you do it and you've got it on stream, drop me a link so that I can come and catch up on the right timestamp, because, man, I would love to get there. I just don't have the Finland cards right now. I guess I'll see what I get when I crate tomorrow, but I'm in a weird position with the Battle Pass at the minute that I feel like I can't open cards, like packs of cards, because it feels like I'm wasting resource, because I keep hitting special and then tearing past it, and obviously special for me is upgrading to a late. I'm wondering if we might actually see a rebalance there. I don't know whether we actually will or not. Oh, it feels bad, but I'm going to do it anyway, because Nashub's really, really good value, and I don't like value on the board. Yeah, the more I look at Finns, the more I'm like, oh, what would be fun to do? It kind of has to, not because I don't think that the new crate system isn't the right idea, but I'm not sure it's been implemented as well as they would have liked. It feels to me like there's just something not quite right about it, and I can therefore only assume that they will try and fix it. I'm going to try and create some longevity here, because it's... Yeah, I agree. Like, 100%, I think they've gone the right direction with it. I've posted in a few different places about the fact that I think I really like the way that the business model is working for them at the minute. So, this is Baravanici, and that makes me so sad. And it will happen. That hurts, by the way, because that's my only copy. Not quite sure which color I assume is the correct pronunciation, but I'm very bad at pronunciation without audio cues. But yeah, I'm not sure which you're referring to. I mean, if you're referring to me mentioning Frontline, yeah, it might be just too slow nowadays. Any ramp deck, I suppose, might be the same. This, by the way, is terrible. I'm looking at no board presence and no units that I want to play, and I'm just going to cross my fingers. Oh, the expansion. Yeah, it's been interesting. This is my first, obviously, expansion in this game, and it's fascinated me. Because I wasn't sure what to expect, if I'm completely honest, from an expansion. I didn't know what it would look like, and then I started looking at the cards and going, okay, some of these are interesting. But yeah, I mean, back to thinking about Crate, because it's kind of been on my mind for the last few weeks while I've been attempting to meticulously pay attention to my Crate growth. I think it just needs a rebalance. I think it's the right idea, it just... Well, that could be painful. Oh, Jurass would be so welcome right now. Sort of okay, though. Big noble offer. Wow. Okay, so now we're going to do some maths. So, unity is strength is +3 which would make you a 5/5. Combined with the 5/03 means that I can just roll through. Yeah, so let's drop the 5/03, throw unity of strength out here. I can live with a 7/7. We will roll forward, and then we will create another monster in the front line for you to deal with. Yeah, I mean, controversially, I actually like shifting the Crate to cater more to newer players with the expansion, because I think people, if they want to get good without spending money, or at least have a competitive, have to have a better way of drawing into the newer cards, particularly at the moment. However, I do also sense that it's been 3, 4, 5, yeah. Not necessarily everyone's favourite thing. Deep operation is not helping me. I need to clear you and advance. I think new players need to be... yeah, I'm with Penny's spot on, I think, with agreeing, kind of going in the direction I am, which I think new players need to both get there and do it. I mean, part of what I hope to do, if I can get stability, hey look, the technology hasn't dropped out once so far, is do some videos and conversations like technically what some of this has been, which is just chatting about decks that you're probably going to get a chance to play. Because I found it, I don't know whether everybody else finds it the same way, but I really struggled when I first came into this to find decent resources. And that wasn't fun. You can be turned off because we don't like you. I think it was just too tough. There's not a lot of good resource out there. The tutorial in-game is okay-ish, except by the end of it, you've got a bunch of... Wow, we really didn't like our board position, did we? I mean, I'm 100% on board with you with it. But we really didn't like our board position. That's okay. So, I'm going to concentrate for a minute. Because, you know, aside from anything else, I'd like to win some games. So, 2 in here, here, and good night. Sweet Prince. And then I'm going to deep operation for next turn. New player resources were really hard to find until I found like J King's YouTube and a couple of other bits and pieces that I found lying around. I really was just flailing around in the dark. Then I found like a unit and combo that I liked in messing around with Hermes, which was just a lot of fun. And after that, I felt like I had slightly more of a handle, but it took a lot. And we'll see. Hey, you might be right, Collar. You might be right. Misplays, maybe. I am not 100%. I don't like Comet. I don't like seeing Comet because I don't have an answer to Comet. Because I don't run enough guard. Which I think means we're done. Pretty sure we're done. So we are not dropping 24 health without a minor miracle. And we didn't draw a 5-year plan. We'll make a fist of it, but I don't think... Yeah, we can't... Oh... Have I mentioned how much I don't like Comet? I'm sure I must have mentioned at some point how much I really don't like Comet. I've lost so many games to that card. I did do a small celebration dance when I actually got that card, and can now include it in some decks. So you're going to Comet me. You know I'm dead next turn. Because there's literally nothing I can do. As anybody has fingers crossed for some form of miraculous method by which I can turn this into 20 some odd points of damage. You're not alone in missing Verbal Wind. I will look at it properly in a bit. You are not alone in missing Verbal Wind. I liked Verbal Wind a lot in my frontline deck. As one of my favourite cards to play and just really irritate people. And it was a good answer to Comet. But you are right, Jet Prototype is a thing right now. So, I think we've covered what Tokens does, and for anybody who is watching along while we have conversations about other stuff, which is kind of cool, I'm going to hop onto Frontline. This is my US Germany Frontline deck, and we're going to see so Frontline, mid-range, lots of different ways of referring to it. Just means value decks. Mostly what we're aiming for, if you are a newer player to the game with decks like this, is to get really good trades on our units. We want most of the stuff that we put on the board to cost our opponent preferably multiple cards, but also resources. And also to slow them down. There are... Sorry, good name. There are lots of quality cards in this deck for doing precisely that. Red Devils is one of them. I am getting rid of M4 and Panzer Grenadier. I always end up regretting mulliganing my Shermans, but I'm gonna believe and go with it because I don't need to see it this early when I'm shorthand. By which I mean I'm playing first and therefore only have 4 cards. Again, if you're music games, I don't like. I mean, I suppose production orders kind of, at least we're outright saying, hey, this is what we're doing. We're not really hiding ourselves. So, question to chat on this one is that is everybody else seeing as much production order on ladder as I am? Because I feel like I am seeing an absolute bucket load of production order at the minute. I seem to run into ramp decks and production order spam quite a lot. So this is like a 1/8 guard. There are a number of answers in our deck that will make that go away. We just don't currently have them. However, what we do have is the ability to make bigger units. That is literally the one thing that we could have lived without, but fine. I would have liked to have seen that stack on, but hey, it's fine. This thing's only doing 1 damage, so we'll chip away. Greyhound. You'll notice lots of the units that I'm playing, if you are newer to the game, I like units that are 1/3. The reason I like units that are 1/3 is they're awkward to deal with early. And awkward is always positive. Hello, it's T34. Of course it's T34. Why wouldn't it be? Tank spam. So we can get rid of you. You have heavy armor. We can deal with you. I'm not going to play it yet. I'm not mad. I want it to come out, hit it, and move on. I don't mind losing a unit to the T34, and then we're just going to take this Hellcat, which is specifically designed to remove tanks, because it has blitz and deals double damage, to just remove that thing from my line of sight. So again, there's quite a lot of to and fro going on right now, but as we're trading out, we are coming out ahead. And that's basically the reason for the season right now, is to just keep board presence. I've still got good board presence right now. My opponent has nothing. They're always back because I have not seen any card draw. Note, by the way, my earlier prediction about regretting the fact that I got rid of my Sherman. However, it's fine. We will endure. And in the meantime, we're just going to hit face because I'd rather he chose where he wants to go. I like this because this is interesting. I'm having to concentrate enough to get there. I would like to see some of my heavier units come out. There are bigger units in here that you want to see. Like, I really want to see a Sherman because I want some card draw. Which one are you? Oh, okay. So we just like buffing T34s, right? Does anybody want to watch someone cry? No more heavy armor for you. No more buffs to your T34s for you. Right then. Again, we'll keep the pressure up. I can hold. Do I know? I mean, I could fully repair, but I don't think I need to. So I'm going to hold and see what our opponent has to offer. He can trade out and obviously remove both of my units, but he really wants to do that because the suppression gets him away from his biggest issue. However, that's okay. We kind of have answers to that too. So Panzer Grenadier is good. And we are rolling something new 1. The value is here. The value is definitely here. That works. We want the frontline presence. I'm just going to use the artillery to plink away, and we'll see if our opponent has an answer. Again, this is kept presence on the front line, which is why it's called frontline, and the net result is that your opponent has to find an answer. Now, he's got me down to the point whereby, theoretically, I don't have the damage to kill him in a turn. His right, I don't. However, we can do some other stuff. Let's suppress this because I don't like it. I'm just going to remove this and drop another swag, and I'm going to make him have to answer because now he has to remove both swags. So if he doesn't remove both swags and occupy the front line, he's done, because it will be a tough one to do. So they will stop, they will consider, they will try and dig an answer. This is why I often don't worry. Again, if you're a newer player to this, if you get to the point whereby the timer starts ticking and then your opponent just starts endlessly spamming your turn at you, do not feel badly at all. Taking your time is good and healthy. Oh, for some suppress. Still, the artillery doesn't care. The rest is just frontline presence. Do I just want to... kind of don't. Let's see where we go. But don't ever feel badly if your opponent just starts spamming endlessly at you that it's your turn, and like somehow you have to play at a certain speed. There are times, especially if you want to be able to climb to any distance in ladder. I'll come back to this after I finish my thought. Thank you. Much appreciated. Every single time. Notification actually went off. That is so cool. Hey, more people turning up. The irony of my Sherman turning up. Do we wait? We are going to wait. We're going to stay blank and let our opponent have their moment of glory. Sherman turning up this late is so annoying because I just can't draw cards. Oh, that's not good. I'm hoping it is nothing serious. Sig, I really am hoping, as you come and say hi for the first time, like, I really hope whatever it is nothing too serious. Because that's just not fun. No one wants to be sick. I have no good plays. Went from really good to really bad in about 10 seconds. Bombers, man. This was close, but yeah, sick is just bad. I do know being ill is not fun. Especially not this time. This is not the season for being ill, although apparently everybody in my life is discovering it is the season for being ill. Yeah, I mean, I take it a little over seriously for some people because I have autoimmune diseases, so I'm immunocompromised. I've had COVID twice. It's not fun. But yeah, just rest up, plenty of drink, it will go away. It's annoying. It's a very unpleasant thing to go through. So we've demonstrated some of the stuff. Let's go back to other things that are, for those of you who are newer to the game, if you do catch this on YouTube and are just like interested in learning stuff as we go along, we're gonna play this. This is a very meta deck. This is high roll, SWD, SWG, swag, whatever you want to call it, artillery high roll, which I personally like calling it because you're just as happy if you high roll, frankly, into war production, Katyusha. This is why this is an incredible thing. So hopefully we're about to demonstrate why this is a really irritating deck to play against. So, first of all, I'm going to say nice things to our opponent. So, war production into swag. And this is about the best start you can get. We'd like to get to turn 4 or 5 so that we can start running, but that will happen. We are going to go back and play another game. I personally think every time I am tempted to do what our opponent just did, that I need to give myself a few turns. Just because they high roll in does not mean they've automatically won. It means they're very likely to win. It is not automatic unless they have tempo and the rest of the cards. Now, obviously, you can look at your hand and think, do I have any answers coming up? But I always think it's worth playing 2 or 3 turns of a game before you surrender unless something else happens. This is a complete mulligan for me because I have not seen... Okay, so 2 war productions, bad. Heinkel, fine by me, lets me go digging. So Heinkel makes me feel better about the 2 war productions. So, because Heinkel's blitz, that means we get Spoils of War, which means we can go looking for... If you're not familiar with Spoils of War, lets us go digging in our deck. It is important to remember that whatever you don't choose, you are putting to the bottom, so you won't see it. Which I think sometimes people... Oh, Berg's Pioneer. So we could, but we're not going to, because Berg's Pioneer is too good to leave around because it's value. Berg's Pioneer is giving sort of recurring credit, which is never a good thing. 22 is not giving us anything. They don't have any presents, so we'll play out the swag. Nice, fine. We got rid of an elite for that, which I'm fine with. We want to ramp into something large. That's also okay. I'm going to go for tempo. And then we're going to start playing some Spoils of War before our hand becomes unmanageable. Oh good, Comet. The sarcasm is strong in me. Oh, Panzer Grenadier is good. Panzer Grenadier is very good. We can live with Panzer Grenadier. 3 credits. Don't want to use the 101. So frontline and eat the pain. So this is quite a control deck. So the person on the other side is using countermeasures. Don't get disheartened by control decks. It's always important, in my experience, to remember that they only have so much control. Often, it can feel like this is endless. It isn't. Eventually, you can pull through it, and if you can get, usually if you can get good footing against a deck that's trying to control you, they're always back. Schutzen, great card. He's going to get some free damage to my HQ out of it. But I've got at least one really, really good play right now because I can drop 101 over here, get the oversize, and make him have to lose the Schutzen if he wants to come or deploy something else. Panzer's nice, drives things back. That's a little frustrating, but we can deal with it. We want the front line back, and we are going to... I'm going to drop the 22nd because I want the card draw, because I really want to see some things that can shut our opponent down to keep the pressure on. We have good artillery. If he's smart, he's going to use the Comet to clear the artillery, not funny about trying to instantly gibbous. I kind of wish he wasn't that smart. It's a little sad. We didn't get the high roll, which is always sad. We're going to drop our own And then we're going to go digging. I would like to see... Do I want to see more artillery or do I want to see another Schutzen? I want to see another Schutzen really at this level, don't I? At this point, Schutzen, and we'll go digging again. What do I want to see from you? Panzer Grenadier is good because it's just value. So once again, we're just making our opponent play off the back foot. The Comet may not feel like playing off the back foot, but it is. It's sometimes Comet appears and you just have to live with the pain. There's not a lot you can do about it. It will perpetually annoy you. I would like to make you free to operate because it makes him have to answer you. So I'd like him to use the Comet. I'm trying to bait him into using his Comet to come take out my Catty rather than doing something up front where I don't want him to, because what he may not be aware of is how much it can hurt when your opponent is holding 2 combined arms in hand. So, combined arms, friendly tank, +1/+1 for every unit type you control. We're going to drop swag, so now we control 3 unit types. We're going to drop an ME when this unit attacks and destroys, gain a credit slot. We're going to select the tank. Then we're going to do this, and this, and remind our opponent that it isn't always plain sailing. Oh, I hate that card, but I love that card too. That was so well played. Let's get Schutzen out up front. That was so well played. That sort of ambush, take you down thing. I personally love that it's appeared now in the way that it has. I know that it can be incredibly frustrating when it happens to you, but there's part of me that really enjoys that that's true. Now, if he's smart, he's going to remove... Has he got? Oh, he's got tactical strike. Fair enough. I thought for a minute our opponent had misplayed. Our opponent has not misplayed, which is fine. Panzer Grenadier to the front. Obviously, trade out here, and we're just going to throw the value out. We'll hold Astrakhan because it's not doing anything, and now our opponent needs to work it out. Yeah, Sissy Snipe is... I actually love that it's in the meta. I think it's really good because it gives you that kind of boom effect and reminds you that you kind of have to be aware of it. And it's not always easy to play around, but also demonstration of how much tempo this deck has. So let's do what we did with tokens, because people are going to see a lot of this deck. We're going to slow things down a little bit, hop over here. We're going to open up my Don't Walk Swag deck, and then I'm sure chat is going to remind me of many of the things that aren't in here that could be, or things they do differently, which is kind of chill because I like different opinions. Because I don't have a full collection, there are some things missing in here, but we'll start from the top on War Production because it's such an important card in this deck. So I might clip this out at some point, but if you are new and you're looking at this deck and trying to understand how it works and why it keeps doing what it is and why people get frustrated by it, War Production is an incredibly powerful card with a really significant drawback that you can play around. We'll get to that. So War Production, 2 additional credits this turn, discard all non-unit cards. Now, discard all non-unit cards can be seen as a really big downside because it stops you from playing a lot of orders, or indeed any, most of the time, other than War Production. So it's not world-breakingly good unless you can do something very powerful with it, because otherwise you're restricting your deck really heavily, and you need the payoff to be good enough. So let's talk about the payoff being good enough, which brings us to the swag. H39 SWG is a fascinating card that is defining issues in the game at the minute. This card, I will outright say is overpowered. It needs a tweak. It needs a balance check. I'm not quite sure what the perfect balance check is. We can go around and around that for ages. But the reason that it's this good this early is this can now turn 1. If you have this and War Production in hand, you can turn 1 this H39, which puts on the board a unit that can attack twice with Fury. 1 point of damage is not nothing when it adds up, especially if you can buff it, which you can. But it's also artillery, which means it doesn't care about air defences or guard. It has... Now, this suppress units attacked by this unit. Before we go any further, that line needs editing to... and the game needs changing to suppress units damaged by this unit. Suppress units attacked by this unit is insanely overpowered. The fact that it can suppress 2 units a turn is ridiculous as it is, but the fact that it does it, even if it does no damage, means that you can have a 4 heavy armor, 12 buffed up tank that you can turn into nothing just by aiming this thing at it, which is frankly ridiculous. 4 health is also something that people are talking about a lot. 4 health is an incredibly awkward number. A lot of removal in this game, especially early removal and damage, is about 3, which means it's very hard to remove this quickly. If you don't remove it quickly, it will spiral out on you. And the final thing that is very questionable about this card is its rarity. This is a standard card. I can, in fact... I'm noticing my battery life. This will be my last commentary on this before I have to stop streaming and then figure out how to fix battery life. But I can, in fact, guarantee that you'll see 4 of them index, and the fact that you can see 4 of them index is frankly a problem. That is a lot of value. Reason it's good, we eventually want to combo it with everybody's favourite buff, which is the 101st. So the 101, this is insane, because obviously every time the unit attacks, note attacks, not after it attacks, it gets +1/+1. So the first attack is 2, the second attack is 3, and so on and so forth. It's also increasing its defense. You add this as a pincer effect, and it will spiral. It doesn't matter if it does without doing damage, because it's always coupled with the 25 instruments. I mean, it is when you can. I think the fact that it would be less instantaneously amazing if there was any chance that it wasn't coupled with that. That's my thing. Like, I agree with you. It is almost always going to be accompanied by that. Now, we're probably going to lose camera in return and possibly sound in return for battery. So, people can tell me in a minute if this becomes appalling. But I'm going to switch my input and see if my audio capture kicks in. No, wait, it's not going to. So I'm going to have to sign off, I'm afraid, kids, because I've got no battery left in my Mac, because I'm currently not able to charge and stream at the same time, which is going to get fixed. What I did find out, which is what I wanted to answer with this evening's stream, is I have a stable way of connecting my iPad. So for the last couple of minutes, I'm just going to say it's always really cool. We are going to cut to my desktop in a moment so that I can charge my Mac. And we'll lose the iPad feed, but that's okay because I can keep talking. It just means I can't show the cards as easily until I go and leap onto the appropriate website, which I'm about to go and do. But first of all, I need my Mac to be charging. We're charging. So let's go to Google, not watch myself on Twitch. Let's go to Cards. because we can see cards on the Cards website. But yeah, I agree. It needs nerf. It needs something to lower its straight up utility. Because at the minute the SWG is just, the swag is just, it is utility given form, and it's constantly good. And when you throw it with the 20-second, yeah, you are right. It gets crazy. If you put the infantry behind it, then put 101 on it, which is the 2-5 that Colla's referring to in chat. Then it just keeps spiraling and spiraling and spiraling. But I think it defines the fact that the meta. I love that we have. I've not hopped on here. Does anybody know if there's any interesting on here? I don't tend to spend a lot of time around the Cards community decks on the main website. I mean, yeah, I would probably do one or the other, possibly not both, at least at first, because you can always come back and bring it down a peg first. I think I personally would probably take Fury off first, see how it settles for a month, and then balance patch it again if it's still just good. But my design mind is always the same, which is incremental tweaks, because that's the way I approach designing anything. For those who haven't caught earlier streams, I've done some tabletop RPG design, and iterative design is always better when you go in small increments, especially when you're reducing or increasing something. So I would probably be inclined to do one or the other, but not both, and then see how it settles. Yeah, that's probably about it from my point of view. White Lotus says, I generally find that there's very little on there that's up to it. What is useful, though, is that we can go here and we can go and look at cards that we wish to be talking about, while I don't, in fact, have. Thanks, Karmakata. I don't know whether it's wisdom or just painful levels of experience, but I think sometimes as players, we're not necessarily as familiar with design as designers. And from a designer's point of view, you always want to tweak just enough to see if something gets better before tweaking so much that something becomes either irrelevant or insanely overpowered. I will say, and 1939, take no offence if you happen to be watching this at some point, because it happens, I am surprised that the swag got through QC and design testing in its current state. It surprises me that it didn't get picked up and tweaked along the way. But it didn't, and that's life. Oh, cool. Sorry, I am still learning, in fact, people's names and who people are, being relatively new to the community. So firstly, thank you and your team for a game that is a lot of fun. I have thoroughly enjoyed it since a friend of mine said to me like 2.5 months ago, here, try this. And then I chewed my way up to Field Marshal and then top 500, and I'm now streaming because I just really enjoy it. Oh, cute. Yeah, I mean, if it started out as a 2-5, that would have been... that doesn't get through any design QCs. I'm just thinking about a 2-5 Fury Suppress that costs 3. And yeah, Wylos, I speak from experience when I say it is... The bigger the game, the more that you're allowing yourself access to dials and levers, and the harder it gets. And I noticed very quickly that what 1939 have done is included a huge number of tweakable kind of dials and levers in design. Because when you think about it, you've got your unit's attack, your unit's defense, your unit's cost to deploy, but you've also got op cost, which is an extra lever that's in there. You've got various keywords behind it. And I think when you've got that many dials, sometimes they're going to need tweaking. I expect swag to get tweaked. I expect swag to get tweaked less than people are screaming for it to get tweaked. And I know people will be frustrated by that, but good design says step by step and just keep dialing it back until it settles. Oh, man, yeah, Karma. It's so funny side story. In TTRPG, I have taken part in alpha and beta testing for the last 2 iterations of the world's greatest role-playing game before it went through its large corporation-inspired issues recently, and both of them, when you get to the expanded testing, the value is that you discover a lot of really interesting things that you've missed because you've got thousands of people playing the game, which is great if they're playing it after a certain point. But if they're playing it before that certain point, it is terrible because you just get flooded with too many issues and you're not in a small enough room to discuss those issues. Like, less than 50 people testing is absolutely what you want when you're first trying to release something, because you want a small section of people who really know what they're doing to throw around words and ideas and concepts, and that's hard to do in such a big community. If people want to know how hard it is to do in any large online community, go look at Gwent and balance council changes and the way that that's been working out and the bedding in process of that after the step away. It's a great idea, but it's going to take work. And design is iterative. Iterative design is easier in smaller quantities. Quality testing benefits from larger groups of people. But the luxury of being easy to able to have multiple layers of design testing is expensive, which I'm sure Karma can attest to from inside 1939. If you want good testers, you need to reward them for testing. Now, whether that's paying them or giving them in-game currency or bonuses or whatever you use to do that has a cost to you as a company. The more people you get to do it, the better the result you'll get, but the more it affects your margins and your ability to function. And I don't know 1939's financials, but I know that it's got to be difficult to create something like this and keep going. Hey, Jim. That's quite the announcement. I need that. You need to follow me around and just announce me into rooms with that. That'd be the way to walk into any room when people are seeing you. It's like, hey, look, it's Bear. I am now, having lost the ability to stream because I can't be running both of my things at the same time. I'm now just onto waffling about game design and balance, and it's pretty cool. But yeah, I will be back to games as soon as I can figure out how to get charge into my Mac, connect the cable from my Mac to my iPad. Although actually, Karma, while you're here, because I'm going to say this a lot, I don't suppose there's any chance that you guys are thinking about a native Mac desktop client for Steam? Because this would be so much easier for me to create content from, because I am a creative and a designer, which means that unsurprisingly I'm a Mac boy, because I can see. Yeah, I imagine that the teching is difficult. Just one of those things where it's because I don't like Windows machines and the like don't work so brilliantly for me. Um, because in design, yeah, Mac design is a like for all that Macs are as a creative, the machine I want to use because of what they can do, and the new chipsets are incredible. The iterative design and the complications behind it is a whole thing that I'm vaguely familiar with. I know a few engineers who have it. That's all right. I will. There are workarounds. I know there will be. What I just need to do is find a splitter so that I can get power in and an extra release out so that I can stream from my iPad. What I did prove, because this was random, my first stream was like yesterday and was like 2 hours. This proves that I can stably stream with cable connections. Now I just need to figure out how to do the power. What I have discovered is that wirelessly connecting my iPad to my Mac is really unstable. Um, but it's a blast. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. So I am running it on a tablet, and it's a mirroring is the issue because it's very unstable while I'm streaming. Cable connection is more stable, but I'm working on it, and it's good fun actually. Because again, it will surprise nobody to hear that someone who gets into design on a regular basis likes having a problem thrown in front of me. I throw a problem in front of me, and I'm in my element. Um, because then I just want to find solutions, which is also why I wanted to spend time like doing design for this, so that I had different graphics and stuff. Although again, thank you to 1939 for making it easy for me to find cards related images that I can use in content so that it looks pretty. Um, in very specific cases in design karma, yes, it is because the pain of a problem drives you to find the solution, and the solution allows you to iterate to find less problems in the future, or so I'm told. And there's that belief that at some point you will fit the nirvana of gloriously ascending to the point whereby you have a project in mind and go, let's do it, and it works. If that ever happens for me, I will tell you and then contact you, and it'll be fun. But I will probably be running some incredible industry of my own at that point. It has not happened thus far. I mean, they do, just again, iteratively. Iterative improvement. Ollie, iterative improvement is everything that we aim for. Um, But yeah, I'm going to sign off because I'm not going to keep wittering on while I haven't got the chance to stream. I will be back hopefully later on this week, definitely after Christmas, to stream some more. You check out the visuals when I get them up there, but you can find me pretty much on any social media platform at bear_gardener, and you can always find me on Discord in various places. Shout me out, find me. I'm pretty friendly as a rule, as long as you're well mannered and a decent human. Thank you all for coming along to a completely spontaneous stream to test stuff. Thank you for witnessing me actually win some. If anybody wants comedy value, go watch my first stream in which I just got onto the world's biggest loss streak. And I will catch you guys all in the future. Thank you so much. Take care of yourselves. Be good humans. Those of you who are ill, feel better. And I will catch you all in the future. But for now, take care.